A sentence is terminated by a small regular disc known as a full stop. Like a concierge at the entrance of a new understanding, it is sometimes overlooked that the sentence also begins with an identical point. Pen in hand, hovering over the virgin page, the first touch is irrefutably a full stop that explodes into a root, stem, and blossom of elucidation, recrimination, or anything else a person may imagine. A common observation in the reviews of Stephanie and myself was that everything we produce or observe is a sensory phenomenon waiting for definition in artifact. The internal processing of the sensory artifact by the reviewer and the reviewed therefore provides our point of departure. To paraphrase Yeats, a sentence lives and dies between its two great eternities. We may also consider at this point the dancer and the dance. While working independently, our review process became concerned with the beautiful, sparse, and intricate language of symbols that we commonly use to describe everything within our world, i.e., letters. This could have evolved from an appreciation of minimal painting, or just as easily from the daily habit of reading, writing, and taking notes. But I suspect that our preoccupation is far more obvious than that. In working online, the no man's land between words and pictures is totally exploded, and the sensory experience is entirely blurred. Counting back actions on a computer, it is hard to know were you directed by an image or a word. The same blend of tangled input is also present when driving a car. Are you directed by symbols, words, or even where the sun lies? Once more and more profoundly again, the experience is relived in visiting exhibitions. Words, punctuation, symbols, pictures, and sculptures. The process of interacting with art is a complex one. The process of cataloging that interaction and critically describing it is infinitely more complex again. To illustrate, here we have the Perpetua image of the word image. Stephanie's AIGA review of 50 books, 50 covers, and my review of Seamus Heaney's The Human Chain invoke the sensory artifact and the real object of the book. We comprehensively deal with history, physicality, and content while revealing and reveling in its potentials. Writing is approximately 5,000 years old. Movable typeface, approximately 500. Home publishing, a little over 5. Set against the granddad of picture making, 70,000 years at last count, it is a veritable spring chicken. But in customary human style, we have not only adapted to this new versatile medium, but become totally addicted to it. The hand, always ancient, is always new. In this piece of art, from the Word into Art exhibition, we have the work of Omar Khayyam. The poem inscribed is, "Then to this earthen bowl did I adjourn, my lips the secret well of life to learn, and lip to lip it murmured quiet, when you live, drink, for when dead, you never shall return. Once more, writing, picture, all entwined, all art. Drawing a line from Gutenberg to the local parish newsletter produces a span of infinite points. All of our work is present upon that line as it stretches on. Any one point deserves contemplation, but for now, here is one small observation on these mysterious artifacts. Can any medium be as self-critical as a word?
A second significant thematic crossover in the work of myself and Aengus revolved around the notion of audience engagement. It became clear in reading the reviews that the presence of the viewer was central to the work itself. There seemed to be an inherent awareness in much of the work that the presence, understanding, interpretation and contribution of the viewer was in and of itself a tangible component in the work of the artist, or indeed had become also a tangible component in how we two individuals had reviewed the work. Aengus took a structured approach to the writing itself, citing Robert Hughes and Richard Collings as having directly influenced the writing style and the impact of those styles on the reader. So even from that perspective, at the outset, the stage was set for reviews that were for and about audience awareness. This theme manifested itself over and over across the reviews both of us wrote, in the writing style, in the content, and most importantly, the exhibitions themselves. If we look first at the Upstart's open submission exhibition, we see that it existed beyond galleries, an exhibition set free, and this was the underlying ethos Aengus set out to examine. He noted the reactions of the public as he observed the upstarts put up their work, how they responded with an enthusiasm and encouragement, but more than that, it was provoking real audience interest. This was indeed an exhibition that captured the viewer's imagination and attention. With the Michelle Simons show, the approach was to withhold nearly all knowledge of it from the public and the subjects. People were invited to the opening to find their own personal icon gazing back at them. It's compelling to wonder, was that moment the real exhibition, like viewing the scenery in a theatrical production that is yet to open? The analysis of the engagement of an audience, be it active or passive, was borne out again in the exhibition staged and screened by James Brooks. Both Simons and Brooks are artists who clearly reach out to the audience, and that gesture is ingrained in the very substance and effect of the work. Traditional conventions are ignored, and the artists created intriguing shows where the viewer and the viewed became cyclical elements, where the audience became the show and the show became the audience. Both of us dealt with work of a sensory, tactile nature, particularly that of book design, attesting that a traditionally printed and published book is in itself an artifact. We argued that books engage with their audience readers in a uniquely personal way. The crack of the spine as the binding flexes, the smell of freshly printed ink, the paper, the typography, the format, texture and colour all contribute to the reader's experience of the content. There is an intimacy in holding a book and interacting with it in an individual, personal way. The concept of audience moves from this individual experience to a more populist perspective in the review of TRTE. Here the intended audience is tightly targeted and catered to. The visual inspiration for this seems to come from urban skater culture and is reminiscent of the tendency of Irish teenagers to customize their school bags and pencil cases with intensely detailed pen doodles. The work here speaks their language and knows their world and aspirations. The highly detailed illustrations communicate a distinct element of cool, while also delivering an achievable illustrative quality that has audience awareness and engagement at its heart. From Populace to Congregation and the Review of the Church Newsletter, an embodiment of how church and community are still bound. The newsletter provides an opportunity to speak to the converted, to engage with the public, and herein lies the crux of the matter. Historically, the Church has always wooed its audience with art, and used its vast collections and grandiose architecture to impress upon them its power and wealth. The parish newsletter could embody the fabric of its congregation audience, but the Church are failing to engage. So many common threads can be found between the 8 reviews completed by myself and Aengus that the potential for them to become an entangled jumble seemed a worrying prospect. In addressing just the salient elements across our 2 chosen themes, we have, we hope, managed to maneuver a path and encompass what has been an interesting and fulfilling journey.